So 30 Days to Greatness going along here. This is Sellers 101-2, the importance of being data-driven. In particular, we're talking about net outs, that is seller net out sheets, market reports, and CMAs, not necessarily in that order. So let's get right into it. Here we go. So data-driven, CMAs, net outs, and market reports, not necessarily in that order. So in Sellers 101-1 video, I mentioned that sellers want hard, cold facts. Well, you need to be data-driven with them. And sellers love the data, right? So I've made the mistake in the past of being too familiar with a seller. I thought since we were friends, I just needed to schmooze with them and land the listing. Yeah, sellers don't want schmoozing. Schmoozing isn't a listing strategy. Knowing and presenting the relevant data and what it means to the seller is. So that's where we want to. So let's talk seller net out sheets first. In the MLS, the sheet I've put together as a sample that's attached here where you found this webinar, either in an email or in the login that you were provided. It's not actually called a seller net out sheet. It's called, I think, estimated seller proceeds worksheet. So if you're searching for it in your MLS, you'll find it there. But I've provided one here that's editable. That's editable, not edible. You don't eat this sheet. Every seller needs to know up front not only what their home will likely sell for, but what that means to them, as in what stays in their pocket. And it's important because you're dealing with a high-stress situation where people are moving and they don't want their house to keep their money. They want to take as much of their money as possible with them, right? So this is important. In your MLS, there's likely an estimated seller's proceeds sheet like the one attached to this webinar. Here in Michigan, laws and customs vary from state to state, but the biggest expenses here in Michigan to the seller are mortgage payoff, obviously, if there's a mortgage on it, first and second, or maybe a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, the commissions that are paid in the real estate professionals, title insurance policy, the seller will pay for a owner's policy. Likely the buyer will also pay for a lender's policy if they're financing the home. Transfer taxes, any could be delinquent property taxes or special assessments if applicable, a home warranty that's an optional thing, or there's other miscellaneous costs like recording fees and so forth. But these are the big numbers here that will go on this net out sheet. All of that can be quite a lot, and they need to know what to expect. When I say it can be quite a lot, not just as a lot of information, it can add up to what feels like a lot of money. So they need to know what to expect. Not everybody understands that. The attached net out sheet has instructions to help you fill it out. So when you download that PDF, take a look at it as part of your homework to get a practice sheet, a couple of them filled out. So, make up some numbers. If you were selling your house, you know roughly what your mortgage is. So you need that information from the seller to be able to do this. You can find the data you need to fill it out on the MLS and public records. So most of what you need to know is all public and available to you. However, the exceptions to that are title company costs. Those are based on the sale price, and the title company has them posted. And if you're working with us, we typically use this particular title company over here, and there's a sheet with all of it posted on there. But anyway, you can get that information. The transfer tax is a function of local law, and the instruction sheet has the cost here in Michigan. So those instructions that are attached has that information there, so you can figure that out. Here's a little pro tip for you. If they're upset with the commission number, let them know it's split 4 times. First, the buyer broker gets 50%. Your broker gets a percentage, 30% maybe. Uncle Sam gets about 30% of what's left. And you have costs to be in business, from marketing, licensing, insurance, board dues, MLS fees, etc. So the first 50% doesn't even come to you, right? Goes to the buyer's broker. Of that half that you keep, 30% of that goes to your broker. And of that which is left to you, another roughly 30%, depending on your tax bracket, ends up going to Uncle Sam. And then even out of that, what's left, you have costs. So it's important that they understand when they look at that big number, it's not necessarily all going into your pocket. So for instance, check out this video I'm going to load up here on handling commission objections. Here's one way to take a pass at that I think is kind of fun. Check it out. Okay, so we're talking about Sellers 101-2 being data-driven and the importance of really the cold, hard facts. That said, sometimes you run into some objections about the facts when people want to say, gee, can you cut your commission? 6%? That's a lot. Well, when you give them the seller net out sheet and they see they're selling, a $200,000 house or a $400,000 house, and say it's a $400,000 house and 6%, they're looking at quite a lot of money, $24,000. But you want to let them know, gee, all that money isn't mine. In fact, if you hold up a dollar bill and a pair of scissors, by the way, no dollar bills were hurt in the making of this video. This is a photocopy, just a blank. It's not really a dollar bill. But you could say something like this. Well, in fact, all that commission isn't mine. It gets split 4 different times. The first time it gets split right in half because the buyer's broker takes half of it. And then, well, my broker takes 30%. And of course, Uncle Sam gets his cut of about 30%. And so what's left isn't even really all mine because the cost of doing business is things like licensing fees and insurance and marketing fees and board fees and MLS fees. So in fact, a small part of it is really what pays my salary because of the cost of doing business in America. But the real reason, and you smile and you nod, that you're concerned is that you want to net the most you can out of into your pockets. And that's why you're working with the best professionals in the market. And we'll get you the best price in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. So the point is, being the cold hard facts guy can also have some flair to it too, so you can get across the point. Just in case you run into an objection, something like that can work really well. All right, listen. Sellers 101-2, the importance of data-driven, not just the seller net out, but now we're also going to take a look at the comparative market analysis and the role of market reports. Okay? Good. Go get them. So, yeah, it's a kind of fun way to do it. I don't expect you to go around cutting up money in front of people, but you could if you had to. Maybe you can just paint that picture without actually cutting up money. So back to what's really important, though, is being data-driven and giving people the information that makes sense. And one of the biggest tools working with sellers, of course, is the comparative market analysis. That's a vital skill for working with sellers. Let's take a look here at a couple more thoughts on the subject. By the way, the last session we're talking about walking through houses, your buyers 101-2. We were talking about walking through houses in your markets to build up your expertise. Well, that will help immensely on this market analysis. We're talking about comparative CMA. Being able to put together a professional CMA is a lot easier today because of the great software available to you. So once you have your picture, contact info, and logo loaded in the MLS, the CMA tab automatically brands everything for you. And so part of your homework here is to pick a listing or two and practice doing a CMA. The work is in picking the comparative sales, or the comps, we call it, right? Comping a home means you need to stay geographically close. Try to stay within a half mile when possible. Sometimes you can do it within a quarter mile, but half mile is good because sometimes the quarter mile is a little tight and a half mile gives you a better picture. If you need to, go to a mile, but try to stay, inside of that. Stay in the town stay in the town and the school district. Sorry about my slide. Stay in the town and the school district of the subject property, right? So don't get outside the borders of your town, and be aware that some towns have different school zones, right? It may be that house is in what's thought of as a better school district, and it's a really high comp. Well, it doesn't really apply to this house. The subject property might not be in the better school district, right? So stay within the architectural style as well. If you've got a ranch, a Tudor, a bungalow, etc., colonial, tri-level, they often don't comp as high, even though they have the square footage. The tri-level often doesn't comp as high. So stay within a range of the square footage. A little bigger and a little smaller is fine. Your subject property is 1,800 square feet, then maybe you're going between 1,600 and 2,000. If you don't find enough comps, maybe you're going, slightly widen your range a little bit. But the point is, you need to be, as much as possible, staying within the same specifications, within the number of bedrooms and bathrooms when possible. Now, if you've got an extra bathroom on this one or a half bathroom, now you can kind of adjust for that. So don't get too legalistic about the bedrooms and bathrooms as much. But if you're looking at a 2-bedroom versus a 4-bedroom, that's a big deal. A 2-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom is a big deal. So bedrooms may be a little bit more important than bathrooms, but be aware that extra bathroom has value. Not might, it does. Okay, so make sure you're not comparing homes with a basement to a home without one. That's a big deal. But picking the comps is the most important. And we've touched on some of the main things here, but not everything. A word on remodels. The spread between the fixer-upper and the fixed-up is as high as I've ever seen it. So it matters whether the pictures of the comps you're picking, right? Has this one been recently remodeled versus the subject property, which hasn't? The spread between the fixed up and the fixer upper is huge. You see, we no longer live in a DIY, a do-it-yourself culture. We now live in an HGTV culture, and people will pay a premium for the rehab or new homes. They don't want to fix it themselves. They want to watch someone else do it on TV and move into the finished product. So it matters. That said, not all rehabs are equal. Bad work or the wrong trends for the times can hurt, not help. Sometimes people say, well, we just redid the kitchen. Well, you did it poorly. I don't want to just use that phrase with them to their face necessarily, but they need to know, talk to me before you start spending money on expensive rehabs, because I want to make sure you're doing it to the times, the trends of the times. And frankly, the quality of the work matters. Oh yeah, we painted all of our bedrooms. Yeah, you got paint all over the place. It looks terrible. Well, often you'll be doing the CMA before you see the property. So you have to give a range of likely sale prices, so you're not comparing apples to oranges in terms of the fixer-upper versus the fixed-up, for instance. In the end, you'll have to let them know how their home stacks up with the other homes in their market. So I'd rather tell you the truth now than disappoint you later is a great phrase if you need to tell them something they may not want to hear. So also, let's take a quick minute to talk about market reports. I'm going to spend a little less time here. They're a great way, though, to get conversations started and to keep them going, right? So, excuse me, you're calling your peeps, and one of the things you can say is, hey, I'd love to send you a market report about your area to let you know what's going on, around you, and that keep up on the times, and so you know your situation. And you start wow, I didn't know they were selling that high. Yeah, maybe we could sell. Well, maybe. Let's talk about it. You can get a conversation started with market reports or keep a conversation going. When somebody says, hey, what do you think I could get for my house? Well, let me get a CMA started for you, and you send it to them, and yeah, maybe next spring we'll think about it. Okay, well, in the meantime, you're keeping an eye. I'll keep an eye on the markets for you. In fact, I'll send you market reports that'll help you know what's going on with your situation. That'll keep the conversation going. I've attached a report for a seller that's very much like a CMA. It's either attached to the email you got or where the login is. I want you to download that PDF and have a look at it. It has a lot of information in it, and it's a free service through the MLS called RPR and Realtor Property Reports. And that's available to you through your MLS fee. It's one of those many icons that comes up when you go into the MLS. It's on down the list a little bit. I want you to go make yourself an account and upload your information so you have it personally branded with the logo, picture, contact information, etc. It's an automated value manager, an AVM. Now, AVMs are not always as accurate as you want them to be. So if you're going to use it, do what I did in the example and pull comps so you can modify it. Nothing kills the conversation faster than an unrealistic value, right? It's why we rant and rave about how horrible Zillow is, because their values are these AVMs, these automated value managers, and they're not as accurate as they should be. They're certainly not as accurate as you should be as a local realtor, as a local real estate professional who knows the markets and can get that data and really shift through it with a good eye and some knowledge, because you've been walking through the homes and you know not to compare apples to oranges. You can see the fixer-upper versus the fixed-up, et cetera, et cetera. You have to zero in and do that work. So the AVM on the report that I made, the AVM, the automated value manager, had a $93,000 value until I used my knowledge of the area to pull comps in the same town, same school district, and in the same neighborhood with like size and finishes. So the likely sale price jumped over 20% to $115,000. That's a big jump. The difference, think about that as a percentage. I know this isn't a highly valuable home when it went from 93 to 115, but if it was a 930,000 to 1.15 million jump, that would be a real eye opener. 93 to 115 is a big deal to people who are living in these price points, right? So it's important to do the work. Now, the AVM might have gone the other way. The AVM could have had a really unrealistic price, and I'd have to be, toning it down a little bit with reality. That can happen too. But in this case, the AVM was low. And so I could have killed the conversation by just sending them the automated report. And they go, oh, well, 93. Yeah, if it was over 100, maybe we'd talk. Well, it's well over 100. So the point is a little work, right? The AVM can lose your business if you're lazy with it. So don't just push the button and walk away. Do the work of taking a look at it yourself. It's worth the effort, because what you want to do is you want to be data driven, because you want to establish yourself not just as a friend schmoozing people, but as a real estate professional with the cold, hard facts that speak to the concerns and the questions the sellers have out there. It'll establish you as the go-to realtor in their mind if you do that work. Okay, this is Paul letting you know Sellers 101.-2, data-driven, CMAs, net out sheets, and market reports. You can get there from here. Tag, you're it. Go get them.